Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Motor Trade Radio podcast in association with eBay Motors Group. It is Saturday the 13th of March and you're joined by myself, Philip Nothard.
And me, Curtis Hutchinson. This is episode 12, season 7 of Motor Trade Radio, bringing you all the chat that matters. And once again, we've gathered together this week's big industry stories across the franchise and independent sectors for you to enjoy all in one place on your podcast feed.
So again, I mean, we're talking this week and talking about obviously a lot of things going on in the sector. Everything taking place again this week, but it's all about the new plate, Curtis.
And, yes, we're already mid-month, more or less, and I've actually seen my first 21 plate.
And what was it?
It was a Volkswagen T-Roc. Which I think was supplied by Motorline. So well done to the guys at Motorline. But it did stand out from the crowd because it was very shiny, very new.
Is it right? Okay, I've not seen anything myself because unless they park in the 2 car parking spaces I can see outside of my office window, then I've probably no chance of seeing one.
That is your window on the world, isn't it?
That's my window on the world, yeah. So, don't get to see much these days. But I think March at the minute is going to be an interesting one. And we were talking before we started to record around what's happening in March. And I think the sentiment at the minute is March is running behind last year at this point in time. But I think we've got to put it in context, haven't we, to a certain extent that, last March was essentially in the first sort of 10 days of the month a normal trading March until the sector started to lock down, and as we know it locked down on the 23rd of March. So any year-on-year comparisons partway through the month of March is quite a challenge really at the minute to look at, because it doesn't really give us a true picture of what's gonna happen in the month. So it's going to be an interesting one, and I think there's some reports that we do expect to exceed last March performance, but obviously we've got to put that in context that last March was 200,000 units down from a normal March. So if the dealers are running at a 70% performance at the minute, then the question is going to be is whether we finish at sort of 70% of a normal March, and what that looks like compared to a usual up to 2020 is going to be the big question. But all things good. I mean, everybody's counting down the days,
But you know what? 70% of anything at the moment is quite a result, isn't it?
I think it's great. I think they say we said that with Steve Labast, didn't we, from BDO when he was on and same with Mike Hawes, that you can look at it the negative, and we know the headlines will always be on the drop year on year. But the sector is running well at the minute, running at 70-75% of normal. And we're going to be talking about Dash and his results on one of the stories this week, but everybody's talking about Dash's countdown, because he's posting a different picture every day with the number on of the numbers of days to go before the 12th of April. I think he even put a shout out that he's more than willing to accept any pictures, as long as they're clean pictures, in for him to post and use as a reference to the countdown. So it'd be interesting to see if he's had any and what kind of one he's had sent through.
Time to get creative, I think. So we go out on Saturday, and on Monday, the following Monday, the first CAS outside of London opens in Bath.
Yeah, you're looking forward to that one, because I think you've got a webinar as well that coincides with it.
We have. It's the EV Forum, which goes out Monday morning at 9:30, and you can register for that at the 360 Media Group website. But it's the timing is absolutely spot on, and I think coincidental more than anything, but no, it's interesting timing because, as I say, Bath goes live, and we interviewed the team behind the Bath initiative, and it's fascinating what they're saying and how they're implementing it. And of course, this being the first one outside of London, it'll be looked at very closely by other authorities because we know that Birmingham is going live in June. The London ULEZ is being expanded in October. And then there's a number of cities from Bristol and Bradford up to North Tyneside that will go live before the end of the year. So this we've been talking about CASs for probably a couple of years now, and they are a reality now.
Yeah, and there's even this week there's lots of conversations now from the government in terms of their decarbonisation initiatives and things like this. And I think the government have they just allocated 20 million towards the Road to Zero plan as well. I think this week, and maybe we can talk about a little bit of that next week and pull out some of the points from your EV webinar as well in terms of what's happening from a government perspective on the decarbonisation and that road to zero.
Yeah, and I've just realised that I probably didn't explain what a CAS was. It's a clean air zone. I hate it when acronyms aren't explained, so apologies for that. So, looking at headlines this week, as you mentioned, Marshall Motors' eagerly anticipated full-year results are out. We've got news on the Chancellor's super deduction tax and how that can actually be used by dealers, especially for things like CI programs. So some welcome news there. The used car market is starting to rev up for when lockdown ends, says one finance firm. Mitsubishi, we've got an update on what's happening in terms of UK sales and also Europe, because there's a bit of a U-turn going on there.
Keep an eye on
Cox,
that one, yeah.
yes, yeah, we'll probably update this on a regular basis. Cox Automotive names its 2021 Barbara Cox Woman of the Year. Discount chain Lidl rolls out leasing service, and could a mystery company be planning a gigafactory in Somerset?
Yeah, just a few there. So we're over to AM Online for the first story, and our good old friend Dash Gupta is they've had their financial announcement. And the headline for AM Online is that Marshall CEO Dash Gupta, we must keep our feet on the ground after outperforming market in 2020. So he's obviously trying to put some context behind their performance that they've announced in 2020, but they have got an underlying profit before tax of 20.9 million compared to a 2019 figure of 22.1 million, and that's a reported profit before tax of 20.4 compared to a 2019 figure of 19.6 million. So a great performance, and considering the year that we've just been through, a fantastic performance in my eyes.
And following on from that point, it's worth pointing out that this is for the financial year ending December 31st, 2020. So it does really focus on that year of disruption. So reported revenue of 2.2 billion, that was down 5.3%, with like-for-like revenue of 1.9 billion, down 13.5%, despite significant market decline as a result of COVID. But what's particularly interesting is when you start looking at the vehicle sales. So total new vehicle unit sales were down 9.2%. So like-for-like total new vehicle unit sales were down 19.4%. But let's not forget that the market itself was down 29.4%. So yeah, Marshalls did outperform the market there.
Yeah, and they did the same for used as well. I mean, the used vehicle sales were down 5.3%, like for like, unit sales down 14.6%. But obviously they are comparing that with the used car transactional figures that we know that we're down 14.9% for the full year. So, a great result, and considering that the showrooms were shut throughout April and May. and started to lift on the 1st of June, as we know, through that, and then we subsequently went through, a second and third tiered lockdown structure, but a great performance and very much against the headwind of the sector as well. So, resilience shown there in after sales as well, with a total revenue of 5.2% down, but against a like-for-like revenue down of 13.5%. So, again, a pleased group there from Marshalls on their performance.
Yeah, and Dash does single out the workforce there. There's 4,300 strong workforce for praise, because he does point out that it couldn't have been done without them. And the quote from him in the AM piece says, "When you're double digits ahead of the new car market, up 8% in fleet, and you're delivering strong after sales performance as we did, you have to give credit where credit's due."
Yeah, and the business is moving forward. They're talking about further development of the group's digital strategy, including the introduction of click and collect and the online reservation services. So again, continuing to sort of push hard with TV, national TV marketing campaigns. So again, a lot to be pleased about. But as you said right at the start, keep the feet on the ground and keep it in terms of what they're doing. It has been a tough period, and we're not through it yet, are we? So there's a lot to do.
And staying with AM, the next headline is Chancellor's super deduction tax break to boost car dealership investment. So this is it's an interesting one. This picks up on some comments made by Peter Graham from RSM, where he's head of capital allowance. Now he's spotted that these tax breaks, the super deduction tax relief, can actually be used by dealers for things like funding corporate identity upgrades, which you and I know that's an expensive rollout for any franchise, and that is a welcome development there. So he thinks that although it's designed to boost investment and economic growth in the wake of COVID, it could be handed to dealers as a real opportunity to make long-term strategic investment. Now, there are actually a couple of franchises that are rolling out new corporate IDs. Kia, for one, they're doing theirs, and Renault are doing one as well. So hopefully that will be of some benefit.
Yeah, no, I think there's this is the thing with the budget, isn't it? I think these kind of things is what that means for the automotive sector, and calling these out, because obviously we've got things like the corporation tax and things like that everybody's been talking about. But as you say, this super deduction, and I was quite amused and sort of on the day when everything was announced, and one of the first questions out was, can we claim company car purchases against the super deduction tax? And I think someone advised that no, you can't. So it's great that there is a benefit there, and the sector can benefit from this super deduction tax, and I think that'll show, as you say, pull forward investment and growth and strategic plans for much of the sector, whether that's through technology, property or acquisition, but obviously to bolster long-term prospects. So great opportunity there through the new initiatives from the government.
Moving over to car dealer, the headline there is used car market is starting to rev up when lockdown ends, says finance firm. So this is looking at post-lockdown pent-up used car demand, and it's based on comments made by Startline Motor Finance, who say that throughout February and March to date, they've been particularly busy in writing new business. And this kind of ties in with what we were saying at the top of the show about, March and how March will perform. And they are seeing a lot of renewed interest, which is obviously very encouraging.
No, it is. I think generally through the market at the minute, whether that's in the classified market or the wholesale market, that there is this time now of things starting to build up. We know that the showrooms are now opening on the 12th. I think there is a little bit of question there about what's happening in some areas, because those people that may have decided they want to purchase a vehicle, may just delay because they may want to go into a showroom and test drive a car when they are open on the 12th of April. So that activity that in between the announcement and the 12th of April might sort of, slow down slightly in terms of what's happening, but there is activity out there. There's the wholesale market is starting to pick up. Conversions and prices are now starting to pick up as well. So I think there is this optimism now that we'll get this market. I think the big question is how much it will pick up following the 12th of April, and what that means for the sector. But at the minute, nobody can really go abroad, can they? So there's still limitations of where you can spend your money. So there is a hope that it will be spent on new or used cars.
Yeah, and there's a very measured comment from Paul Burgess, the chief exec, who we had on the show last year. And I particularly like this because he says, we're not talking about a dam burst of demand suddenly being unleashed in the market, or perhaps even the kind of sudden strong demand that we saw last summer. But there's a detectable sense of the market just starting to rev up.
Yeah, it'll be. Hopefully, we'll get that, and we can get sort of some recovery in Q2 for what we've missed through some of these lockdowns. So we're heading over to Mitsubishi now, and as you said right at the start of the show there, Curtis, that trying to keep up with with what's happening. But there's two stories, and there is a connection between these two stories. But Fleet News to begin with is Mitsubishi will stop selling new cars in autumn. So that's in the UK, and we know that was announced, and we've talked about it on the show. But there is also a U-turn, isn't there?
There is a U-turn, yes, and this is something we covered just a couple of weeks ago, and the headline is from Automotive News Europe, and it is Renault will build new models for Mitsubishi in Europe. So obviously Renault, Mitsubishi are in the same alliance with Nissan, and Renault has confirmed that two models will be built in France, and these will be Mitsubishi models, and Mitsubishi will continue to operate as a franchise in Europe, albeit in possibly a different shape and form, but it will continue in continental Europe, but not the UK. So just flipping back to the Fleet News story, they've had confirmation from Mitsubishi in the UK that new car sales will run until the autumn, at which point the brand will transition to an after-sales only business. And the reason we looked at Fleet News was because there's clearly ramifications here, because vehicles like the Outlander PHEV and the L200 pickup are actually doing very well in fleet with organisations like the Environmental Agency and Highways England. So, that was a strong brand.
No, and like you say, I mean, again, there is I suppose, the fact that Renault are going to build the new models for Mitsubishi in Europe. It's just a shame, like you say, for the UK dealers, haven't they, that have been doing very well. And as you say, for the PHEV and the L200 that have really picked up in that fleet market, that it's ending. But at least there is some light at the end of the tunnel that they are still doing something in Europe.
Yeah, and as an after-sales franchise, it does have a sizable car park, and those vehicles will need looking after in the years to come.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether they do bring them. So if somebody else finds a way of bringing them into the UK in the future, but we'll see.
You're listening to All the Chat That Matters on the Motor Trade Radio podcast, brought to you in association with eBay Motors Group. This is your weekly one-stop shop for all the biggest car retailing headlines, and available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you find your favourite podcasts.
So back over to AM Online, and this is the Barbara Cox Award. That was presented for the Woman of the Year 2021, and that is an award led by Cox Automotive that we've been running now for 3 years from memory. And I mean, fantastic event on the day. It was done digitally. The award was done through online, talking about the women in drive, but also it was also done on International Women's Day as well. So a great event and some great shortlisters there for the Barbara Cox Award this year, Curtis.
Yeah, and the winner is National Grid Fleet Manager Lorna McTeer. So she's won the Barbara Cox Woman of the Year award at the event, and highly commended was Jessica Chapman, Head of New Business at LeasePlan UK.
Yeah, and I mean, fantastic worthy winner there with Lorna and let's say Jessica there being highly commended, and everybody that was shortlisted. You know, it was a great event. Really, they really appreciated the event, and you can see why they were all nominated, and everybody else has been nominated for the event. Unfortunately, you do have to have a shortlist and you do have to have a winner with all these things, but you know, Lorna really didn't expect it, and I say you can see why they did pick Lorna to be the winner. I mean, she was so humble and really appreciated it, and you know, she is, as part of it, she'll be recognised, that demonstrates commitment to innovation, and she'll be awarded a £5,000 a cheque for to spend on her own personal development. So a fantastic award there for Lorna.
Yeah, no, Lorna is highly regarded in the fleet world. And there's a nice comment here from Martin Forbes saying what impressed us about Lorna is her genuine passion and the energy she puts into everything she does. She seems to approach everything with vigour, going above and beyond her role to make a real difference. So well done to Lorna there.
Yeah, and just keep your eye out for this next year, because it's done once a year. It's open to everybody. Get your nominations in, and it's a huge event there's some past winners there. Fantastic with Alison Jones from Stellantis and Belle Carney from JCT being past winners, and as we know there now with Lorna, so fantastic news.
Now we've got a debut on the podcast because we're heading over to AIM Group,
yes.
which is the business intelligence for marketplaces and classifieds, apparently. And this is one that you found. So the headline is "Discount Chain Lidl rolls out leasing service."
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah.
It's not in the UK.
No, before you get too excited, you've got to go over to Germany to benefit from this. But an interesting development, this one, Phil.
Yeah, and you can see it. You can see where the whole subscription and usership of vehicles is heading. What opportunities that does open up for the manufacturers in a sort of a B2C environment, but like I say, it's the classed as Lidl, the German budget supermarket, has teamed up with, is it Vecchium and Six Leasing?
I was about to wish you luck on that one.
Yes, thank you for that. We'll stick with Six Leasing. After leasing services for new cars, the discount chain is currently offering 3 models. So it is the Kia Stonic and the Renault Clio and the Renault Twingo. I think those are all fairly small cars, so you might get them in the middle aisle down at Lidl.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think when I shared this story yesterday, one of the first comments back was, "Do you remember the old DC Cook and Macro tie up back in the day?" Where you could, where that DC Cooks there, when they did their online part of the business, they teamed up with Macro, which are the wholesalers, food and business wholesalers, and they would put a finance and vehicle option in the Macro mail every week or fortnight or whatever that time period was. But you can see where this is starting to return now, can't you?
Yeah, you can, and places like IKEA and B&Q operate leasing services. So if you're buying something large, need to get it home, and you've only got a small car, you can hire a van on an hourly basis. So there are synergies here, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Lidl in the UK doesn't look at this.
No, and others. I think
Yeah.
it is that access to the consumer directly there. You can see where, I mean, you mentioned IKEA and you mentioned B&Q there. Why wouldn't you team up? And I think it's one of them is with Hertz in terms of the partnership there, where you go and do your shopping, you can hire a van to get your items home that you've purchased. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And they've got the capacity as well to store the vehicles.
Although part of the challenge of going to somewhere like IKEA is seeing just how you get your flat pack in the back of your car.
That's always amusing, that one, isn't it?
It
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah,
You see some great sights in the car parks there.
yeah. And we have got a fantastic, and finally this week, and you found this one, Curtis, and
I did, yes.
I mean, you talk about an exclusive and new to the podcast with AIM Group. I'm not sure we've had Somerset Live on previously, if I'm
We,
honest.
we we haven't. This is their debut as well. So the headline there is Elon Musk letter ignites rumours of Tesla Gigafactory in Somerset. This is a great story because it's all about this. There's this massive facility. It's 630 odd acres. It's a former Royal Ordnance site near Junction 23 of the M5. So it's near Exeter Airport, and it's being redeveloped, but no one knows for what. So at this facility, which is run by a company called Gravity, a letter appeared, and it was addressed to Elon Musk, Mr. Elon Musk, Tesla, care of Gravity Industrial Park, Bridgewater. And well, someone's put two and two together here, and
Come up
because
with.
yeah, come up with a gigafactory. We know that Tesla are looking to build a gigafactory in Europe. They've currently got three gigafactories. There's two in the States, in Nevada and New York State, and there's one in Shanghai as well, but they do need one for Europe. So this highly speculative piece suggests that he might be looking at Somerset. And you know what? He might.
Weren't they looking in Germany? Isn't there
Yes.
something going on in Germany for a gigafactory
Yep.
for Tesla as well at the minute? I'm not sure if it's had the go ahead or not. If I'm honest with you, I'm not sure where the latest is up with. But this kind of does. I mean, I'm not sure how much of a reach the letter is, but we know that the UK government is trying to attract business to the UK. We know that with the decarbonisation and the road to zero strategy, that the battery factory, gigafactory, is on the agenda for the UK, because this whole rules of origin associated with new vehicle production, etc. That this would potentially change the market significantly for the UK if something gets done in the UK around battery development, won't it?
Yeah, and I guess central to this story is what are they going to do with the letter? Do they forward it on to Elon Musk? You kind of would be tempted to steam it open to
I
see.
wouldn't you? Well, yeah,
No,
yeah.
not that we would encourage that, but it is curious, this one, and they do actually have a photograph of the letter. So the Somerset News managed to get a photograph of the letter. So well done to them.
Oh, they've been very creative.
Yes, yeah.
but I think as you say, I think I imagine it's been steamed open and photocopied many times. I suspect, if it is a genuine letter that has gone to Bridgewater there. But I think at the end of the day, it shows intent. We know that Elon is looking at gigafactories around, as you say, around Europe there. I think the Somerset Live did say that they approached Germany, and there was a decline to comment of where that was up to over in Germany. So again, this would be a significant shift for the UK if something does happen around that. So good luck to Elon if he does. But I think to be fair with Elon, there's a lot of rumours out at the minute about what Elon is up to and what he's buying and what he's investing in. So they do a fantastic job, although we did talk about it once before, didn't we, Curtis, that you wouldn't want to be his PR agency or looking after him, would you?
No. He does shoot from the hip, and I'm pretty sure that the first they know of anything is after he's said it in public.
Yes. So, I mean, again, lots of headlines again this week. Good luck to all the dealers in terms of, working towards that 12th of April. I know there's a lot of activity taking place. It's not long now. We're talking weeks away. Before we start to see some restriction lift. We know today when we're recording that there's been some changes for Wales, so people can go out and meet in Wales, and I think similar up in Scotland there.
And get a haircut.
You can get a haircut as well?
You can get a haircut in Wales from today, yeah. I kind of am tempted.
You've no excuses, Mr. Condy, if you are listening to the podcast this morning then, of getting your hair trimmed down in Wales. But no, good luck to everybody, and fantastic. And do check out some of the new debuts that we've had this week with Somerset Live and AIM Group as well. So head over to the trade media magazines that we've been talking about today.
That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to the weekly Motor Trade Radio podcast brought to you in association with eBay Motors Group. Stay safe and well, and join Philip and I again next weekend for all the chat that matters. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.